In this video, we're going to talk about how we make our pages look slightly different if we are on a different device or a different screen size, or perhaps we're printing things. And we do this using something called media queries. So let's take a look at our page quickly. There's a header, there's a UL, there's a couple of LIs with a couple of links, an H1, a paragraph with some meaningless text, and then this cute image of doggo over here. So here's our markup here. So let's apply some CSS to this. Let's say, let's take the ID of header. Let's make the background pale violet red. I was quite pleased with pale violet red before, and that's great. That's done. Let's use the wildcard selector. Let's make the font family Menlo with a fallback of sans serif. Yep, that looks all right. Let's take the paragraph text and make the font size 20 pixels and refresh. And there we go. That text is a little bigger. Finally, let's take the image and give it a width of 50 viewport width. And let's refresh. And there we go. It's slightly styled. Everything's a little bit different, but this gives us an idea of what we've done so far. Now, let's jump into media queries. Now, media queries start with the @ and media. And then we have to specify which device we're on. So we can either say screen or we can say print. So we can actually change the CSS. If it's print, for example, we could hide the header because it has links that aren't important. We'll talk about that in a moment. But let's say media screen and squiggly brackets. And there's something else that we can put here. We can say and then in brackets we can give it a second thing, a second criteria. So for example, we can say and let's make the whenever we are on a screen and the minimum width is, say, 700 pixels, then let's take the header. So we put it inside of these squiggly brackets. We write CSS as normal. And let's make the background, tomato. There we go. So let's see what that does. So we refresh, and now it's tomato. But as we go down, and when it hits 700 pixels, it changes. So that CSS overrides the previous CSS. There are other things we could do. We could change this to max width. So actually, this style will work until it's 700 pixels, and then it will change. So we're now writing styles for mobile. So actually, let's continue doing that. Let's take it down to like a more mobile size here. And let's do a few things. Let's say, right, we've got the header, make the background tomato. Let's take the links. Let's make the font size of the links 1.25 not 1.25. Let's make it 20 pixels. Let's make them quite large and easy to hit. Let's make the background of them black. Let's make the color of them white. And we actually learned that we're using background color. We're being a bit more specific. So let's refresh. Great. So now we're making them a bit bigger and easier to hit. Maybe we want the paragraph text to be a little bit smaller because obviously we're on a smaller screen. So font size 16 pixels, which is its default. And then let's take the image finally, and let's make it a width of 100%. There we are, or viewport width. It makes very little difference. There we are. Actually, let's use percentage. There we are. So now we have a desktop view and we have a mobile view. And this is obviously a very crude example of how this works, but this is roughly how we use media queries. And we can write multiple, so we can say, at media screen and max width, let's say 600, let's say 500 pixels. Then actually, let's take the, what can we do? Let's take the header section entirely, and let's use a new element called display none, and that will hide it. So now if we go down, when it hits a point, it just disappears because maybe it's not relevant anymore. So there we go. So that is a little bit about how to use media queries in CSS to build responsive websites.